finish. Shut up, dude. Shut up. Shut up. Okay. Okay. Anyway, okay, compose. Okay, I am going to finish Phoenix Wright tonight, and then I'm gonna play Ghostbusters, even if it's the last thing I have to do. Okay, let's finish. So we left off with Emma's. I think it's like her second or third. I think this is her third testimony. Here, Jaden, will you be my man in the chair, please? I have a walkthrough on my phone, so you don't have to do that. Just make sure that you don't knock anything over.
Man in the chair activated.
Man in the chair. I'm looking at the man in the chair. Alright. I panicked and rushed toward both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then, there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow.
This is certainly most unusual.
Try impossible. The chief of detectives hadn't even designed him until earlier this year. That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago.
Yes, well,
The defense may now... Okay. Stop, please. Don't pursue this any further. Oh, we're gonna pursue! We're pursuing! Lana?
what's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair.
But you can't do this. I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Sky.
Nani?
We've already come this far. It's too late to turn back.
Silence! The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant.
It seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter. Emma's recollection. The third testimony. Press her for everything she's got. Even though we know she's telling the truth. Or at least she thinks she is. Hold up. When you say that man, I assume you refer to Joe Dark? Wow, such an on the nose name. Yes, at least I think it was him. Yeah, he was an old Caucasian man. Yeah. Oh, God. You think. All I could really see were shadows. The power outage that immediately preceded the incident is also documented in the prosecutor's office reports.
So then you...
I panicked and rushed toward both of them. Why would you do something so dangerous? What else could I have done? He was about to stab Mr. Marshall. She seems convinced that Dark was the one holding the knife. But as we've just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife. Well, I didn't know that at the time. When that Dark guy knocked me down, all I could think was, I've got to help that other person. What do you mean, you think? It all happened so fast, and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did, it's all kind of a blur.
Miss Sky was almost killed before she was witness to a murder about to take place. With so much happening in a matter of seconds, a little disorientation is only natural.
I saw the man about to stab the other person who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife.
What you did was very brave, young girl. So then, what happened next?
Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. Are you sure about this? Hold on. Of course, see? I even drew a picture of him here.
But it was the chief of detectives who thought up this hideous beast. And that was just this year. The blue badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is all quite verifiable.
I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him before, somewhere. Now that I finally remember...
Oh, brother. Just when you thought that thing had caused enough commotion. Tell us, where in the room did you see him dancing? Tell us, where in the room did you see him dancing?
He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow.
Are you sure about that? His shadow?
So you mean you didn't actually see his face with its winning smile and all? That's right, but I still remember it. He had 3 creepy horns.
This is pointless. That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken.
Do you need headphones or something, Bill?
Okay. That may well be.
Slam.
But what's important is that But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did. Oh? And I suppose you have an explanation? If so, then by all means, please tell us what this shadow really was. Oh, I know exactly what it was. I just might know. It's the vase. It is the defense's belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the blue badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room.
Mr. Wright!
In this room? Very well, Mr. Wright. What is it that the witness saw in that instant? Please show us this mysterious blue badger look-alike.
The vase!
The mysterious blue badger was in fact this. But that's... what exactly is that?
I believe it's some sort of jar. But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger.
Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain old jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint? Our viewpoint?
I've got to show them the correct angle to look at this from.
I believe that's the correct angle. Hold on. Ha! There we go.
This isn't right. I've got to make it look more like the badger.
Allow me to remind the defense its case hinges on the witness's drawing. If Mr. Wright can't match the shape the witness drew, we cannot accept his claim.
I've got to find just the right angle. Maybe I should rotate it vertically a bit more. Or horizontally. Come on, Mr. Wright. You can do it. I'm an idiot. Hi, babe. Okay.
That should do it. What? That's the right thing, though! That's literally how it looks, though. I know, what the fuck? What did she say? We're figuring out whether how this vase, or this vase, looks like the blue badger.
What are we figuring out? What are we figuring out? What are we figuring out here? Yeah, that was right. What the fuck? Yeah, that was right. What the fuck? Yeah, that was right. What the fuck? Take that!
There we go!
How was that any different?
Well, is this a miracle or what? Yes! That's not blue, that's red. No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the blue badger. No. It can't be! Order! Order! The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this. Although we all enjoy Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains.
It's a badger because it looks like a badger.
Ah, yes. That weird jester-looking thing definitely doesn't look like a badger, though. What's your point? What do you mean? So that badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything. I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything. Indeed? Very well then, please tell us. What's different now that we know the witness saw this jar? I believe it was the location? I think it's probably the location. Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar. At a very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright. Yes, well, knowing this, where could she have seen this jar? Where? Excuse me. The location of the jar is shown in a picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gant. But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness testified so herself. Yay, that's good. Yes, and it is these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room, in Chief Gant's office. Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body? Excuse me. From Damon Gant's office to Lana Sky's office? Yes. Why would he do that? There's no reason. Exactly. Nani? If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason. Do you know what that reason was, Mr. Wright? Finally figured it out. So this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, the jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying? That would have to have been The impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall? Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. If I may draw your attention to this picture once more. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit? The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous-looking sword. Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Neil Marshall, king of prosecutors. What did you fucking send me? You son of a bitch! I'm gonna kill you. I hate you so much. Abby, hold on. Get it together, man! Hey, my laptop! Careful. You bastard. Oh, okay. Oh, man. You... I'm gonna smack you upside the head even though I think it's funny. Okay. Okay. No. Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking. What did she say? Yes. There was another possibility of what actually transpired in the room. Another possibility? Murder. Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless... I don't know if I can go through with this. Mr. Wright? What's the matter? If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Skye knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Oh shit. Huh. What a koiki dink. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No! No! Thud. She's dead, Jim. I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. So it was the witness who took the victim's life, and then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented. What? What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Skye, but given the circumstances, Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. Damn, I just keep getting texts. Okay. The reason you moved Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out about what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Or have to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed that my sister killed Neil Marshall? That my sister killed Neil Marshall. Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't.
Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence.
If we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. We certainly can't get dead people to testify. This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning. Goose! Squawk! Honk, honk. They played us like a goddamn fiddle! Touché, Miss Sky. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility. You mean there's still another possibility?
What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth?
I mean the possibility that the victim left us a message. For better or for worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life, in one manner or another. That's impossible.
Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Does such a message exist?
I've got to think back to the court record. The real murderer's name that the victim may have left behind. Let's save real quick, just in case I fuck up. Thanks. Sure it does. This message from the deceased is already in our possession. Mr. Wright? Will you stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer? Do not be mistaken, Miss Sky. Our purpose is not to accuse him of any crime. There's only one thing we seek. The truth. No matter how painful it may be, bringing you the truth, no matter how bad it hurts. This is Three Dog! Ow! And you're listening to Galaxy News Radio, bringing you the truth, no matter how bad it hurts. And now, some music. Anyway.
Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased.
I believe it's in the court record, maybe? Everything is in the court record, sir. You gotta look for the right record, man. This is the message left by the deceased.
This is that blue badger from before, right?
What does she say?
So much evidence.
Oh.
So much evidence.
Oh, is he just going to speak the killer's name? If that thing could, I'm sure it would. Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. A message was left here, on the surface of this jar.
What do you mean?
If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar. It looks like someone wiped the blood away. Yes, but notice. For some reason, the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away.
Yes, there is a line there, drawn in blood.
So what you're saying is these dots were once lines. Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message. One that someone apparently wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions. Precisely so. All we need to do is connect to these points. What did you fucking send me? Oh god! Oh boy!
So bad for the viewers because none of this shit's gonna make sense.
It'll be our inside joke. Weed starting. All we need to do is connect to these points, and the victim's message will become apparent.
Oh shit, we got the connected.
No. Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us? Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal to us the answer. I've got to connect these dots to make letters. There's only one thing the victim would have written given the circumstances. His murderer's name.
Pretty clear.
E.M. Connect the dots.
I'm detective, man.
I draw the horsey. Voila! It's a defense attorney's duty to prove their client's innocence. That's why all I've been thinking about is saving Lana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma. So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind. She said her connection is being actual balls right now.
Literal testicles.
Literal testicles.
Game time started.
Make that a meme. Game time started.
That is a meme, kinda.
Oh yeah, it's big brain time.
No, it's the Chinese dub song.
Oh yeah, the let's watch that instead of actual Revenge of the Sith before Rise of Skywalker comes out. Okay. Of all people, she may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life was Emma Skye. Oof.
Emma.
Anemone. Seaworthy? Can't say I didn't warn you. Oh, it's Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dinsdale Dimmadome. Chief Gant, do you understand the implications of what you've done? What? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, were you not? Ugh. Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction. But Joe Dark really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable. I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know? We weren't defenders of justice. What? We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Excuse me. Even if there wasn't any cover-up or evidence forgery, ultimately, the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied. What's going on at the prosecutor's office? They might have sent an innocent man to his death. How can he just stand there like it wasn't his fault? Order! 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 La 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 la! The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Oh boy, recess! I call the monkey bars! Where this trial is headed, no one knows. To be continued! Will they ever prove Lana's innocence? Will they prosecute Chief Gant? Stay tuned next week Same bat time, same bat channel. Anyway, it's been a week later. Let's tune back in to our justice friends. Sorry, Edgeworth. I didn't mean to get you in trouble. Don't worry about it. This is my problem, not yours. Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, yes I am. I'll come back later. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run all around while on duty. I feel like we've been here before. And to top it off, you call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. I take it Lana's having you run errands again. Let me tell you, this is the last time, pal. Here, she asked me to give this to you if there was a break in today's trial. Evidence law? Edgeworth was talking about this just the other day. You must know that the two rules of evidence law. Rule 1, no evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Is that right, Mr. Wright? Seems so. You could at least study some evidence law, really.
Why is she screaming, play the game? Play the game, play the game!
I am playing the game. The chief prosecutor also wanted me to give you a message. A message? She said, if you're planning to take him on, you're gonna need this book. Him? I guess I'll need to give this book a thorough read. Securely slipped into the pocket. Doesn't look like that book will do you any good now, though. All that's left now is the chief prosecutor's sentence. That's where you're wrong, Detective. Huh? Haven't you figured it out yet? Why I'm still sitting in that prosecutor's seat?
It's okay, Abby. I know your connection's ass.
Despite all these allegations being thrown at me, Mr. Edgeworth, the real trial today hasn't begun yet. What? What else is there left to do? Your credibility's been all but ruined with this forged evidence you were unaware of. Emma Skye found out she unwittingly caused the man's death. And now, you're telling me you want to do more? You gotta be kidding me, pal. You're missing the point, Detective. Lana didn't murder Detective Goodman. She merely stuck a knife into his dead body. That means the real killer is still out there. What? And we're going to expose him. No matter what it takes. This case has hurt too many people. It's time to bring it to an end. Let's go get that son of a bitch. All right, boys. Let's get back to it. Court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Skye. Mr. Edgeworth? Yes, Your Honor. The inquiry committee is planning to impose harsh penalties on you for your actions. Thank you for the news, Your Honor. Yes, well, normally this is where the prosecution calls forth a witness. But, this isn't easy to say. You see, there is some concern that you, Mr. Edgeworth, may have, struck a bargain. You think I may have manipulated the witnesses? I didn't say that. It's just, you see, everyone has been talking, and... Very well, Your Honor. I may have a solution. A solution? That being the case, the prosecution will allow the defense to call forth all further witnesses. What? But there's no precedent for what you're proposing. Undeniably, this is an unusual arrangement, but a very effective one. It would prove that I haven't struck any deals with the witnesses. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you say? Unbelievable. Edgeworth has found a way to continue the trial. Very well. The defense accepts the prosecution's proposal. Then it's settled. The, defense may now call forth the next witness. Mr. Wright, you do realize this is your last chance. If you call the wrong witness, this trial is just as good as over. The defense calls... the save.
Who we gonna call?
Ghostbusters! No. Dun, dun, dun. Huey Lewis! I'm kidding. The defense calls... that bitch-ass Damon Gant!
Take that!
Yes.
Take that.
Damon Gant. The defense calls Damon Gant to the stand. Damon Gant? What does he have to do with anything? As the defendant's partner 2 years ago, Mr. Gant has first-hand knowledge of the crime. I feel we should hear what he has to say about it. As luck would have it, he would still be in the courthouse. He would also be the least likely to have been manipulated by me in any way. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor? True. All right, bailiff, please escort Mr. Gant to the stand.
Like Mr. Gout.
He's a yeah. Witness, please state your name and occupation. My name is Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimmsdale Dimmadome. Timmy Turner, my name is Doug Dimmadai Ding Dang Ding Dimmadome Ding Dang Ding Dimmadome. Thank you for returning my long lost son, Doug Dimmadai Ding Dang Dimmadome Ding Dong Ding. I don't know.
If there's anything I can do to ever repay you for your time, that's all you have to do is
Yes. Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimmsdale Dimmadome? Not right. Not right. That's right. It's Doug Dimmadai Ding Dang Ding Dimmadome Ding Dang Dang Dimmadome Ding.
Dimmadome, owner of Dimmadome.
I feel like you know that whole thing, you idiot. Anyway, what is this? Some kind of... on ice?
Yeah.
Not right. Anyway, what is this? Some kind of practical joke? I was just on my way to lunch. Your name and occupation, sir. Worthy? Are you sure you want to do this? Your name and occupation. What does he do? So, you want to play hardball, eh? Please, Mr. Gant. Fine. My name is Damon Gant. I'm the acting chief of police. Now then, Chief Gant, the court requests to hear your testimony. Oh, righto. What's with the grim face? Okay. Sorry, babe. First, let's clear up this SL9 incident. Oh, you mean the time when Lana's sister murdered that prosecutor? Personally, I think it's been made pretty clear already. There's still some things unaccounted for. Oh? Like what? Like the role you played in all of this. Son, either you're very brave or very foolish. You are aware, of course, that a police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? Sure. Take my testimony, for example. I don't have to give it if I don't want to. What? Is that true? I'm afraid so. The chief of police has the right to refuse to testify. Of course, such an action carries with it certain risks. Don't worry. I'm not here to hinder your trial. Just remember, if this turns out to be a big waste of time, don't say I didn't warn you.
Abby said, wait, Emma murdered someone?
Yeah, Emma accidentally knocked Neil Marshall into that suit of armor, which was holding like a giant halberd, and it impaled him on the halberd.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. And then he allegedly wrote the name Emma in blood on that vase. On that vase, the vase. Anyway.
Oh.
The vase.
Oh.
Very well. The witness may now begin his testimony. Let's hear your string of lies! Deceptions! As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up. That power outage didn't help either.
She couldn't tell because you were laughing like crazy.
Oh, I'm sorry. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently, she had already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery. Is that when Doc was arrested? Him? He was lying on the floor unconscious. Oh! Roblox death noise. When Emma sent Neil flying, it seems Dark bumped his head. I see. Everything seems pretty clear-cut. If the police chief has the right to refuse to testify, then I'd better hit him hard and fast. Hit and run.
Thanks for
The summary? Oh, what can I say except you're welcome? Anyway, as I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. As I recall, a ceremony was held at the police department that day. Yes, that's right. I guess you could say I'm a workaholic. After winning his award, Neil was all fired up, too. That's probably what spooked the Dark and made him run away like that. Was the defendant Lana Skye also present in the room? I don't quite remember. At the very least, she wasn't there when Dark ran for it. To make a long story short, we slipped up. The power outage didn't help either. So the two of you ran immediately after him, right? That's right. Dark made it to the elevator first. So Neil and I split up. He went upstairs, I went downstairs. Guess you could say you got lucky. What's this about a power outage? Oh, that. The elevator stopped all of a sudden and I got the shock of my life. Well, probably not as shocked as Neil when that knife went into his heart, though. Oh, that's not funny. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Could you tell us what you saw? It was a shocking sight. Neil and that serial killer were lying in a heap on the floor, all tangled together. Dark was also lying, collapsed on the floor. Yes, apparently he hit his head and was knocked out. Next to them were those two poor girls, Lana and Emma. Lana was cradling Emma in her arms. Looking back at it now, she must have already known what her sister had done. Apparently, she had already arranged the crime scene. How can you know that? Because of the victim's body. It had already been moved. So that means you found the body near Lana's desk. That's right. I think you said earlier it was my suit of armor that really stabbed the prosecutor. Yes. Anyway, as you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery. What about that piece of the vase we found in your fucking safe? You claim you had nothing to do with the forgery. But I'm afraid that is a claim you cannot back up. Explain yourself. Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this jar, for example. That's the blue badger you showed us earlier. A piece of this jar was discovered in your safe. Not only that, but the evidence list I presented earlier was actually found inside your desk. It was found where? You see, Chief Gant, these articles of evidence uncovered in your office are both concrete proof that you also played a part in the illegal investigation. Chief Gant, what's the meaning of this? Oh, here's a defense attorney who may even rival Worthy. So you admit to it then, that you were involved in the forgery? Who, me? Or do you mean you? Me? Why would I have anything to do with that? Well, you were the one who snuck into my office when you found this evidence. Prosecutors aren't the only ones capable of forging evidence, you know. Defense attorneys can do so too. Isn't that right, Righto? However, Detective Gumshoe was present during the investigation. Worthy, my boy. Not even detectives are exempt from the law. Rest assured, Dick will receive his due punishment. What? If Detective Gumshoe's salary drops any further, he'll end up paying to work. Yes, well, in light of the detective's presence, please give us your testimony regarding these pieces of evidence found in your office, and their relation to the forgery that took place at the crime scene. My. Kids these days no longer know how to put two and two together. Let's see, what was it now? A jar fragment and a list? For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. Anyway, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. If they were found after Dark was convicted, then they're worthless. There's no reason I'd participate in a forgery. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way. Mr. Wright? Yes, Your Honor. When investigating the crime scene, you should have been more careful to observe protocol. You do understand that I am the chief of police, right? There will be consequences. Oh. Indeed, I believe I will press charges, so you won't make the same mistake again. My apologies, Chief, but would you mind waiting until tomorrow for that? Today is, well, you know. All right, Udgy. In return, though. I know. That place, right? Huh? What are these guys telepathic? Or what are these guys telepathic? For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. That's some bullshit. I'd appreciate it if you'd stop making these ridiculous allegations. Yes, you do have a point. You wouldn't have the guts to do something like that. What? I'll have you know back in the day I once broke into a cattle ranch and tipped... Mr. Wright, what are you saying? Anyway, you can't prove you didn't carry in the evidence, can you? If you have proof to the contrary, you're going to need it later. Later? What are you talking about? What else? I'm talking about when Righto's prints are found. Yes, if found inside my safe, they would prove his investigation was illegal. I've never faced anyone as slimy as this guy. And I've met some slimy dudes. Anyway, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. What do you mean by that? This is all purely hypothetical, of course, but suppose I did place those items in my safe. Such an act wouldn't necessarily constitute forgery. If concealing evidence found at a crime scene isn't forgery. I'm not through speaking yet, Righto. It all depends on when the evidence was discovered. If they were found after Dark was convicted, then they're worthless. Are you saying this jar fragment wasn't discovered in the initial investigation? It would appear not. After all, it wasn't listed in the evidence list. For all we know, it could have suddenly materialized the day after Dark was sentenced. Oh, and wouldn't that be convenient? Right? The Chief is talking about a possibility, so long as you can't rule that out. Your remarks, however clear they may be, will only succeed in wasting time. Tell me something I don't know. Come now, Righto. Think about it. There's no reason I'd participate in a forgery. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way. Gant isn't the only one who murdered Prosecutor Marshall 2 years ago. Yet I know he played a part in the Wait a minute, I skipped over a couple of his... skipped over the last two pieces of his... How can you look me in the eye and say that? Because I'm innocent. Remember? Who was it that murdered Neil? I'm not sure I care for the word murder here, but in the end, the person responsible for Mr. Marshall's unfortunate demise was Emma Skye. Well, now do you see? Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way. You sure about that? Really, Chief Gant? At the very least, there is one very large benefit you've reaped from all this. Oh? I wasn't aware. What is this benefit? That would, of course, be the position you have. Chief of Police. Oh? The resolution of the SL9 incident secured your promotion to Chief. That in itself is sufficient motive. Oh, that's a good one. Huh? You really think I'm that incompetent? What do you mean? Even without that case, I was already in line to become the next chief. Resolution of SL9 merely sped up the inevitable a little. Is that true, Edgeworth? Yes. He was going to be made chief anyway. Gah! Be careful when pointing that finger, or you might wind up being the one pointed at. So that means there's only one possible motivation for you to commit forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else. Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. There. It's out in the open now. Udgy, would you mind if I changed my testimony a little bit? By all means, please do. I wouldn't be anyone's accomplice if there was nothing in it for me. Now that's some bullshit. Nothing in it for you? Sorry, but the only person I care about is yours truly. That girl, Lana's little sister, was it? If you think I felt sorry for her, you'd better think again. You're right. You don't feel sorry for anyone. Be tough on crime and tough on people. That's how I was raised. You seem to be lax enough on yourself, though. Ho! 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 Oh, that's a good one, Worthy. Could there have been something in it for him? Given his selflessness, would he have helped someone out? Yes, he would have. True, you might not help out anyone for their sake, but if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone. Mr. Wright, it appears you're positive... I can't talk today. It appears you're positively determined to portray the chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand. That's not what I mean. Very well then. Who is this person you believe Chief Gant may have helped forge evidence? Why, it's Lana Skye, of course.
Take that!
Chief Prosecutor Lana Skye, the defendant? I believe it's quite obvious in light of the circumstances. Emma Skye fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister, Lana? Her own sister, Lana. And as for Chief Gant, he would also have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit. Self-profit? What do you mean? After the SL9 incident was resolved, Lana Skye was appointed chief prosecutor at the prosecutor's office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant. But how would he profit from all of this? He would be able to use the chief prosecutor as his puppet. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations. Do you mean to tell me that despite the chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets? Oh, wait! You must mean puppet, as in someone forced to do his bidding. Never mind. Admit it, Chief. You assisted Lana Skye in forging evidence. Your motive to appoint her as chief prosecutor so you could control her. Righto, my boy. You have quite an imagination. Let me ask you something. What? You have any proof of this? That I control Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing? Lana? She's keeping quiet to protect him. There's no way she'd testify against Gant. I'm afraid without any proof, all this amounts to nothing more than conjecture. Unless that is also what happened in this incident. This incident? Which one would that be? Of course, I'm talking about the murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. The chief prosecutor has been acting strange throughout this entire trial. Almost as if someone has been controlling her. Worthy, you better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt. Just what do you mean? What he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the Chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement. What? What are you saying? Order! 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 I said order! Mr. Wright, you can't be serious. Huh? This is an affront to the highest ranking officer in our law enforcement agency. To accuse the chief of police of blackmail and murder? That's impossible. Your Honor, I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edgeworth said in easier to understand language. It's too late, Mr. Wright. There's no turning back for us now. It looks like he's the one who's decided to go through with this. Can you prove this, Mr. Wright? That the chief, a high-ranking officer of the law, is involved in this murder? Good question. Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man. The question is he a criminal? I believe the evidence will tell. I see. All right then. Let's see what Mr. Wright's got, and it better be good. I think I know what it is. Show us this evidence that ties Chief Gant to the murder. It's the ID list. 77777 is Chief Gant's. This is the ID card list. Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There was one ID on the list we couldn't determine the owner of yesterday. 7 times 7. Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that's my card number. It's your number. What? How do you know that? The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open. A 7-digit code. 7 digits? You don't mean... That's the stupidest combination I've ever heard in my life! It's the kind of thing an idiot would put on their luggage!
What was the code?
77777.
That's amazing! I have the exact combination on my luggage!
Spaceballs references. Anyway, I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was 7777777. The same as the remaining ID card number on that list. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. We're breaking them down! Order! Order! Chief Gant, what do you have to say? Nothing. The defense's search of my office was in violation of regulations. And I will demand Mr. Wright be punished to the maximum extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card. Chief Gant, so you admit it? You entered the evidence room, On the day of the crime? What about it? I'm chief of police. Whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom, what's the difference? I can go anywhere I want. Tell me, when you entered the room, were you alone? I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room. Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you that day, would he? Of course not. Why would he be? I hadn't seen him in days. That's some bullshit. You hadn't seen him in days, Chief Gant? I'm afraid you've just undone yourself. On that day, you had to have met with Detective Goodman. What do you mean? This trial's purpose is to determine Lana Sky's guilt. No, it isn't, Your Honor. This trial's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant met the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine one thing. What transpired during that meeting? In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to have to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the Chief went to meet with Gant on that day. The lost item report. Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime. Or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. So Detective Goodman filled out a lost item form. He would have had to give that report to the Chief of Police. Yet you are in possession of the report, which means you can't be sure if he filed it. He filed it. How do I know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day. He needed to? Yes, to transfer the evidence out. Oh! Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room. I accompanied him? There's no other way the murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room. Hold on. Let me guess what you're going to say next. I, the Chief of Police, murdered poor Goodman. Exactly. But wait! The Chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card. Yes. Now that you mention it, I believe I might have done something of the sort. Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the record, your card was only used once. Yet you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body. No! What was that? He turned all spiky. Chief Gant, you didn't. The murder was most likely a spur-of-the-moment crime for no one in their right mind. For no one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit murder. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body, of course. You're forgetting, Mr. Wright, that the victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did he manage to move it there? I was at the police department the entire day, you know. And everyone's aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office after the ceremony. Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're the chief of police. You have an entire police force at your disposal. Oh, so you think I just ordered an officer to do it? Hey, you, take this here dead body over to the prosecutor's office. I don't think so. I know, this is getting intense. Chief Gant, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. And all this time I thought it was a useless clue, just taking up space. How could the chief have moved the body? Mr. Wright, show us this evidence. To move the victim's body, Chief Gant used this. Where's that screwdriver? This is how he moved Detective Goodman's body. What's that? A screwdriver? But what does that have to do with this case? Mr. Edgeworth, Think back to the day of the crime. What is this screwdriver doing there? It's here because... Ah!
Oh.
Shut up. I was asked to go. By Chief Gant, no less. He told me he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. After the ceremony ended that day, I didn't plan to return to the prosecutor's office. But you did, because Chief Gant asked you to. You mean The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car. Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. Yes, unless, of course, you have another explanation, Chief. Why else would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transport evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. To transport the body to your accomplice, Miss Lana Skye. Order! 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 What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations? Think back to the photograph Miss Starr took at the prosecutor's office. This was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite. It is a photo of the body being taken from the trunk. Chief Gant, please say something! I believe... your time's up. My time's up? Sorry, Righto, but I'm having lunch with the District Attorney General after this. We have to get going if we're to make it in time for the early bird special. But the cross-examination isn't finished yet. Remember what I told you earlier? A police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal. Weapons? In the courtroom. Like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now. What? This is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered. So you're going to just run away after all this? Run away? Don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed old Goodman. That's what you're saying, right? But if you had any conclusive evidence, you would have presented it by now. Well, I think I had Lana dispose of the body? If so, then show your proof and get it over with. Say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gant is the current chief of police. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof. Well, Mr. Wright, Your Honor, do you have any concrete proof? Proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman and made Miss Skye dispose of his body? Do I have any concrete proof? No, I don't believe I do. It's no use showing evidence I'm not even sure of myself. Let's save. No, Your Honor. At present, I have no conclusive evidence. See, Udgy? In that case, this court is forced to penalize you for your allegations against the chief. What? Here's a tip. Never gamble what you can't afford to lose, righto? Seems that Lady Luck was on my side again today. Okay, Udgy, I'll leave the rest to you. Fucker. I warned you earlier, Mr. Wright. This is an affront to the senior officer of our nation's law agency. What? Lady Luck, Maybe we should have a word with her. Mr. Edgeworth, what do you mean? There's one lady who knows the real truth behind this trial. We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony. lady who knows the truth. Another witness. The absence of conclusive evidence, the only other method of proof is testimony. But Chief Gant was invoked of his right to refuse to testify. There's still someone else, one more witness who can answer all the questions raised in this trial. Someone right in this very room. Mr. Edgeworth, who is this person? Why are you asking me, Your Honor? Have you forgotten? The defense is the one calling witnesses today. Mr. Wright, does such a witness exist? She may not be willing to tell the truth, but we can't just stop now. Yes, Your Honor. The defense calls forth Miss Lana Del Rey, Sky. The defendant, Miss Lana Sky? She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 on February 21st. Her task? To dispose of the victim's body. In accordance with a certain someone's orders. Mr. Edgeworth? The prosecution has no objections, Your Honor. Very well. The court will now take its final recess for the day. In 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. This court is now in Hold on. Huh? Chief Gant, I thought you were going to eat. Listen good, Lana. He's talking to Lana. I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible consequences. That's right. Your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder. Well, technically it's manslaughter, so... This isn't good. Of course, you never support such outrageous claims anyway, right? Just something to think about. Alright then, I've got a lunch date to meet. Good, because it'll be your last. Motherfucker. Okay, if there aren't any further objections, this court is now in recess. I call the tire swings.
I call the fucking spinny thing in the middle.
Looks like we managed to stay in the game. Yeah, thanks to your help. We're in the end game now. Thanks to your help, Edgeworth. That chief. Something else, eh, pals? Detective Gumshoe. I'm not a detective anymore. Oh yeah, sorry about that. Don't worry. Already decided where to work now. At your office. My office? Sure. I'll take the place of that top-knotted girl you used to work with. Could he mean... Maya? Still, looks like we're all out of moves now. Chief Gant's done it again. How is it he always gets the upper hand? It's not fair he has the right to refuse to testify. Settle down, Wright. Remember what the judge said. But Chief...
Murder and manslaughter are not necessarily the same thing.
I know.
Abby says murder. Abby says murder and manslaughter.
Oh, well. Okay.
You're incorrect, lady.
But Chief, that is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered. Risks. What did he mean by that? It's simple. If the chief refuses to testify, the opposite also holds true. You mean he forfeits his right to say anything too? Hey, you're not behind bars. Emma, are you okay? Yeah, when I came to, I was in the medical office. I've been listening to the trial from the gallery. So she heard everything that's been going on. What did she say?
I answered her.
Oh. Emma, I'm sorry for what I said before. No, don't be. It was the truth. What?
That she couldn't hear me.
Oh. You know, it's funny. I almost feel somehow relieved. Relieved? Yeah, now I finally know what really happened. To think that all this time, my sister was being blackmailed by that terrible man. Oh, okay. Well, then that makes sense. And she did it all just to protect me. Ever since her appointment as chief prosecutor, everyone who knew her said she changed. Perhaps it was easier that way for her. What do you mean? What do you think I mean? To follow Chief Gant's orders. She must have shut herself off, up deep inside. Forced herself to do anything and everything the Chief told her to do. That must be why she became so cold. It was all my fault. It's all because I murdered Mr. Marshall. Hey, don't go blaming yourself now. If you want to blame anyone, blame society, pal. Oh, Gumshoe, are you the Joker? We live in a society, boys! Rise up, gamers! Chief Gant may be able to fool everyone else with his forgery, but he can't fool my memory. I remember now. I knocked Mr. Marshall into that armor. I see. Well, we better get back. It's time for the final act. Emma, why don't you wait here? No, I'm going with you. I want to be there when Lana tells the truth. Let's go, Wright. It's time to end this. Alright, let's go get that son of a bitch for real this time.
Let's kill him properly this time.
Let's kill him properly this time. Let's get that son of a bitch.
We do live in a society.
We do. It is the most societal of societies. Now then, will the defendant, Miss Lana Skye, please take the stand? Miss Lana Skye, you are the chief prosecutor. I'm sure you're aware of what is required of you. But Mr. Edgeworth, you already know everything. You know all that I've done these past 2 years. Please provide the court with your testimony, Miss Skye. And remember, you are under oath. We want to hear the truth. The whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Of course. The truth.
Lana, no matter what happens, I'll always be your sister.
Now then, your testimony, if you will. First, tell us about your relationship with Chief Gant.
Everything hinges on your testimony. You're the only chance we have to get Gant. We can't let Gant get away. I worked alongside Gant for years. There's no truth to this blackmail theory. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene.
My only motivation was to get Dart convicted.
It had nothing to do with Emma.
Are you sure about this testimony?
Your Honor, I'm confessing to a capital offense. Of course I'm sure. But Lana!
If this is true, then that means Chief Gant has nothing to do with this.
That's what I've been telling you from the beginning. Please, Mr. Wright, you've got to help her. She's sacrificing herself because of me. But what if she's telling the truth? She's not. I know my own sister. Whenever she speaks stiffly like that, she's hiding something inside. Deep down, she's really screaming in agony. Yeah, this is no time to start second-guessing myself.
The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
I worked alongside Gant for years. No truth to the blackmail theory. You sure about that? But think about it, Miss Skye. You didn't murder Detective Goodman.
You told me as much yesterday in jail. You still don't get it, do you, Mr. Wright? Any testimony you cannot present in court is as useless as idle gossip. I stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. And I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago, all by myself. Did you do so to help your sister? Joe Dark was a serial killer. My sister almost became his last victim that day. I didn't want that incident to ruin her life. But what she did was justifiable self-defense. She wouldn't have been charged with anything. That's not the point. She was traumatized that day, all because of that creep. That's why I couldn't forgive him. Lana. So that's why you fabricated the evidence 2 years ago? I rearranged the crime scene. You say you did this all by yourself? Yes. Would you mind telling us what you found when you arrived at the crime scene? It seems I was the first person to discover the scene. The broken prosecutor award knife was stuck in the victim's body. What? But Prosecutor Marshall died from an unfortunate accident. That's only a situation you dreamed was possible. Oh my god. The reality is it wasn't my sister who took the prosecutor's life. Fantasize all you want, Mr. Wright, but I'll never change this statement. You mean Prosecutor Marshall wound up being killed by Dark? Something like that. If that is so, what happened to the other murder weapon? Dark was carrying a switchblade knife. Oh, that was lying on the floor a little distance away. It was probably knocked away in the struggle. That's not how it went down. She's trying to She's trying to cover up her lies with more lies. All just to protect me. So when you found the scene like this, what did you do? After all, this is what everything boils down to. Yes. I broke off the tip of Dark's knife, planted it inside the wound, and then moved the body. You planted the tip of Dark's knife, and then you moved the body? But why? Why would you do that? You of all people should know, Edgeworth. You've always had a good head on your shoulders. My head isn't that bad, but maybe I had to ask for the sake of others. Why did you move the body? When you showed up on the scene, where exactly was the victim's body? It was where you deduced it was, by Chief Gant's desk. But the body was found by your desk. Why did you move it there? The reason for that is simple. Let's have the witness explain this in more detail. The reason Miss Skye moved the body. Pieces of the shattered jar that threatened my plan. Oh, so you mean this jar? Miss Skye, I understand how you feel. You committed that crime 2 years ago to protect your sister. You mean the forgery at the scene where Neil Marshall was murdered? If that truth were to be exposed now, the past 2 years of your life will have been in vain. Even so, I am compelled to bring everyone's attention a significant contradiction within your testimony. A contradiction in my testimony? You testified, and I quote, "The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan." That's right. Do you have a problem with that? It's a simple oversight, really. You see, a message was written on this jar with the victim's blood. Yes, the prosecutor must have written it in his final moments. Exactly so. And this is where the contradiction lies. Nani? In order for the victim to be able to write his message on the jar, it must not yet have been broken before he died. Ah. He couldn't have written Emma's name on a shattered jar. Order! Order! Your Honor, it would appear more information is needed in regard to this jar and its bloody message. We may be missing something critical here. Something critical? Chief Prosecutor, it seems you're as in the dark as we are about the truth towards which we're headed. What? Just tell us exactly what you saw. We'll piece together the information to arrive at the truth. Very well. The witness may now continue her testimony. I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar. But it was dark in the room and I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. The fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered.
You mean you were the one who wiped away the message in blood?
I wasn't chief prosecutor at the time. She didn't think Dark was the real murderer. That's why she tried to erase the real evidence.
Very well. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
I have a problem with your statement that you got all the fragments. Because there was a piece in Gant's safe. Miss Sky, I believe this jar conceals the truth even you were unaware of. What? We found the final piece of this jar in Chief Gant's safe. In the chief's safe? But how? I knew it. She really didn't know. There's something even more disturbing about that final piece. There was still blood on it.
But the witness just testified that she gathered every last piece and wiped the blood off of them.
Yes, which leaves us with only one explanation. On the night Prosecutor Marshall was murdered, you were not the first one to show up on the scene. Chief Gant got there before you.
But couldn't the defendant have simply missed a piece?
I'm afraid that's unlikely. The pieces are too big for anyone to miss, let alone an ace detective.
That may well be, but everyone makes mistakes. Even I once wasted an entire day looking for my dentures. They were in my mouth all along. Ha! Could you believe that?
Have you forgotten, Your Honor? When this witness arrived at the scene, the jar was already broken?
Oh, that!
There's no way a name could have been written on a shattered jar. Another person discovered the scene prior to the witness.
I hope you're not implying this person was Chief Gant. At the time, he was looking for Dark downstairs. Besides, even if he was there first, why would he break the jar?
The question is, if he did arrive there first, why did he hide the facts for 2 years? Well, Your Honor, can you answer us that?
Oof.
No! Weed starting! Wait, I'm not the one on trial here.
Damon Gant arrived at the crime scene prior to the witness. He proceeded to break the jar and purposefully hid one of the broken pieces. Question: what is this action called? Fabrication of evidence.
But why would Chief Gant do that?
In light of what happened afterwards, isn't it clear?
What happened afterwards?
Discovering the scene, Lana Skye believes his sister killed the victim. Determined to help her sister, she sought Gant's aid. Lending her his aid, Gant helped her create evidence that incriminated Dark, sparing Emma, and therein lies the reason. The reason why Miss Skye became the chief's puppet. Oof, she bit her thumb so hard that it bled. No, I did it on my own. Please, sis, stop trying to protect the chief.
I can't watch you suffer anymore for my sake. No, you didn't. It wasn't you, Emma. You didn't kill anyone. I don't believe anything Mr. Wright says. Defense attorneys make up the most foul lies to defend their clients. Foul lies? Imagine that coming from my own client. I guess you do seem the type who likes to twist the truth. Wow. Wow. Wait a minute. What if I were to purchase fast food and disguise it? I'm kidding. We're still smack dab in the middle of Gant's trap? Is something wrong, Mr. Wright? Lana? Maybe right after all. What do you mean, Wright? So you do tell foul lies then, Mr. Wright? Miss Sky, please testify once more. But if evidence was fabricated behind your back, then Emma's accidental killing of Prosecutor Marshall might also be a lie. But I do remember knocking over Mr. Marshall. Miss Sky, if you will. I can't. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. This cross-examination may not change a thing. However, there is a possibility that it will, if you tell the truth. I love how Edgeworth and Phoenix are basically just working together on this case now. I'll testify about what I really saw. All right, the witness may testify once more for the final time. When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on the suit of armor's sword. Emma and Dark were lying unconscious on the floor nearby. When I saw what happened, I thought she did it. That's why I erased all of the evidence that linked her to the murder. I had Chief Gant help me to remove the body from the sword and carry it. But if it all really was a fabrication, Emma might be innocent. Unbelievable. The body was impaled on the armor's sword? You were the only one who saw that. If only you had proof. Actually, I do have proof. I gave it to Mr. Wright just this morning. What? To me?
The evidence book!
The book!
The book of evidence!
Oh. It's her picture I took of the crime scene as I encountered it. But what if?
It's in the book!
Yes.
It's in the book!
It's in the book! I thought it might be needed. But I don't remember receiving a picture like that. Lana must have known. See, Mr. Wright? She really does have faith in you. Very well, Mr. Wright. Please present this picture. I don't remember receiving any pictures from Lana. Lana said she gave it to you this morning, right? I seem to remember getting something from her then. Let's check that evidence again. There must be a picture in there somewhere. Ah! Look at this photograph!
Every time it
makes me laugh. Hey, there's a picture in here. Oh my. This is the actual crime scene. No other detectives saw the crime scene like this, because I contacted Criminal Affairs only after I had rearranged everything. Mr. Wright, that piece cut out from his vest. Could that be the clock we found inside Chief Gant's safe? What's this? This is a handprint, isn't it? That cloth, it had fingerprints on it. Whoever fingerprints those are on must be the real murderer. What? But those fingerprints, they're yours, Emma. Why are your lips turning all purple, Mr. Wright?
Anyway, let's get on with the cross-examination. So long as you tell the truth, we should be able to flesh out the real murderer.
Yeah, flush him out like a twat.
Very well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination.
When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled up. Oh.
Oh!
You bastard! Don't give a dome owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome! Come now, Udgy. This is the poorest excuse for a trial I've ever seen. Chief Gant. What, now you want to make me out as the bad guy too? If so, I'd like to put in a word or two with my defense. I'm afraid it's too late for that. What? You already declined to testify. That means you forfeited your right to make statements of any sort. This must be that risk we were talking about earlier. Just sit back and relax, and enjoy the sound of the noose tightening around your own neck. BAM! Got him! So what? You think I'm worried? Sorry to disappoint you, but I don't need to make any statements. What do you mean? The evidence will do all the talking for me. Even if I can't testify, I can still present evidence. Yes, that's true. Wait, you mean you still have some conclusive evidence? No, I don't. But someone does. Someone? So, what's your excuse, Righto? Why have you been keeping quiet about it? You do have something to show us, right? Something that proves who knocked over Neil Marshall, causing his death? Conclusive evidence that leaves no room for doubt? Is this true, Mr. Wright? If I show that piece of evidence now, Emma's sure to be made out as the murderer. Mr. Wright, if you have any more evidence, present it now. And if you try to conceal anything, you will be the one appearing before the Board of Inquiries. What do I do now? I'd better think this through carefully. I can't afford to make the wrong decision. Should I present that piece of evidence? How about let's not? The one that shows who really killed Prosecutor Marshall? We cannot. Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at the time. What? You lie! Chief Gant? You opened my safe! I know you took what was inside. The conclusive evidence. I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Wright, why did you show them? We found it together. Oh, I see. Because you know the truth, don't you? You know whose fingerprints are on it. That's why you won't present it. What are you talking about, Chief Gant? Can't you figure it out? Take a good look at this picture. See the victim's vest? Notice anything odd about the chest area? It looks like part of it's been cut out for some reason. You mean you had this in your safe? What? That means you, the chief of police, have been concealing evidence? This is going to be the biggest scandal in the history of the police department. Impressive. To be honest, I didn't think you had the gall, Righto. Well, I can't just let you pin me up as the murderer. I'll tell you what really happened. What? You mean you admit to it?
You ain't allowed to testify.
You ain't allowed, boy. I was the first person to arrive at the crime scene that day. It then occurred to me that I could use the situation to control Lana. Eating her. I knew Lana. If I made it look like the blame lay with her sister, that when she saw the scene, she would ask me for my aid. So you assisted Miss Sky. I told her to arrange all the evidence. I had her plant the knife tip in the victim's body and move the body across the room. And I ended up using that evidence to get Joe Dark convicted. When I tampered with the crime scene, I hid 2 pieces of evidence. This was before Lana arrived at the scene, mind you. 2 pieces of evidence? You mean those items in your safe? But why? For insurance, of course. Insurance? I was sure my plan would work, but it's always best to be prepared for the worst. I wasn't about to let anyone blame me for a murder that girl committed. You mean you were calculating that far ahead while forging the evidence? What do you take me for, a fool? I didn't make police chief by dumb luck. See this jar fragment? I hid the most legible part of Emma's name. Didn't expect Lana to go and wipe the blood of all the pieces. But if you fabricated all the evidence, what's to say you didn't fabricate the message on this jar, too? Ho, ho, ho! Some people just don't know when to quit, do they? That's why I kept one more item for insurance. You mean that piece of cloth? Come on, Righto. Cough it up already. I know you have it. What are you waiting for, Mr. Wright? So you admit to it then, Chief Gant, that you were hiding the cloth you cut off the victim's vest in your safe? Yes, I admit it. I didn't want to have to do that, being chief and all. But it's a lot better than being portrayed as a murderer. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you have to say for yourself? Just a moment ago, you said you didn't have any evidence you could present. Foolish move, Righto. You should have shown it then, before it was too late. It's been a long battle. But the moment of truth has finally arrived. As long as I don't mess up here, victory is mine. Hold on. Show evidence. Your Honor, I do have evidence to present now. Save. Alright then, let's see this conclusive evidence. The evidence that shows who actually murdered Prosecutor Marshall. Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest? Oh yes. At last you finally brought it out into the open. There's a handprint on this piece of cloth. Your Honor, the prosecution requests that be immediately sent to the lab for analysis. This handprint on the leather, there must have been a strong impact for it to be left so clearly. You mean it could not have been forged? It must be authentic, conclusive evidence. Ho ho ho! You're as slow on the uptake as ever, Worthy. What? Think about it. Righto had all this time to present this evidence, yet he was reluctant to do so. Why would that be? You mean you already know? You know whose fingerprints are on that? Mr. Wright, do you really know? Whoever the fingerprints belong to must be the real murderer. Whose fingerprints are they? Very well, I'll tell you. You should be okay now. Everything's proceeding as predicted. Everything's going according to plan. The person to whom these fingerprints belong to is Emma Sky. Emma? Emma Sky?
What? They're mine? Sorry, Emma. But why? Why didn't you tell me? Oh ho ho ho! You're really something, Righto. You knew this girl did it all along, and you still tried to pin the murder on me. So it's true. Tragic but true. This girl really did shove Prosecutor Marshall to his death. How could you? You monster! Miss Sky, you knew whose fingerprints those were all along, yet you acted like she really didn't. Miss Sky, it's not over yet. What? I said this trial isn't over yet. Ha! I'm afraid it is over, boy. Not only this trial, but your career, too. You purposefully concealed this conclusive evidence. That, my friend, is a serious offense. I'm looking forward to pressing charges after the defendant is convicted. I'll have your badge, boy. What's the matter? Cat got your tongue? Aren't you going to tell us how it feels? How it feels to be the one who single-handedly turned a poor little girl into a murderer? Before I do that, there's just one little thing I have to clear up. Oh? And what's that? Who really killed Prosecutor Neil Marshall? What? Chief Gant, you are absolutely right. This piece of cloth proves who the real murderer is. Who killed Neil Marshall, you ask? It was Emma Sky, wasn't it? I'm afraid that's not possible. You see, this piece of cloth contains a critical contradiction.
Nani?
What? Contradiction? What is this fool babbling about? Talking about a contradiction. One that proves who the real killer is. Mr. Wright, this piece of cloth, what could it possibly contradict? Chief Gant, your tyrannical reign ends here. Behold, the piece of evidence that contradicts this cloth. That! What exactly is this supposed to be? This is the picture Miss Sky took. Take a good look at it. Look at this photograph! See where the piece of this vest was cut out? Yes, his shirt is showing underneath. It's hard to make out with all the blood on his vest, though. Exactly my point. His chest is soaked with blood. That's only natural. His lungs, no doubt, were punctured. Blood poured out of the mouth. Oh, but that piece of cloth... Wait, there's no blood on it. Ah! Since Emma Sky's fingerprints are on this cloth, there's no doubt that she shoved the prosecutor aside. However, Mr. Marshall was not impaled on the sword at that time. No, this is nonsense. Now then, Chief Gant, let me ask you something. Prosecutor Marshall was not impaled when he was shoved aside. He most likely hit his head on the ground and was knocked out. If so, then tell me, who could it have been? Who could have arrived at the scene before Miss Lana Sky? Picked up by the unconscious prosecutor and impaled him on the armor's sword. Then to make it look like Emma was responsible for the prosecutor's death, said person proceeded to write her name on the jar with the victim's blood. A jar that they broke on purpose to leave behind a clue. And make Lana believe her sister did it. Remember what you admitted only moments ago? That you personally cut out this bloodless piece of the victim's vest? Ironic, isn't it? Through the very act of creating insurance, you proved that you were the actual murderer. No! It's finally all over.
ogre.
It's all ogre now. Oh, ho, 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 ho! That was close, Righto. You almost had me. Sorry. You'll have to do better than that. I refute your allegations. What do you mean you refute his allegations? You see, that piece of cloth is illegal evidence. Order! Order! What nonsense is this? Illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a suspect. Remember, Udgy? Earlier, old Righto here concealed that piece of cloth. So then, what's your excuse, Righto? You do have some conclusive evidence, don't you? Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time. Well, that's true. The defense did refuse to present evidence. At that moment, that piece of cloth ceased to be legal evidence. But that's not fair! Oh, 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 ooh! Do you actually think you could be best me in court? It looks like the last laugh's on you, son. I'm afraid Mr. Gant's claim is legally correct. Well, Mr. Edgeworth? True. Illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a person. Assuming, of course, that the evidence is indeed illegal. Well, Mr. Wright? Hold on. Well, Mr. Wright? It seems at last. Time for me to reveal my plan has finally arrived. Mr. Wright, do you admit to it? That you purposefully and illegally concealed this piece of cloth? I did not! I admit, I refused to present it at one point. Aha! So the evidence is illegal. No, it isn't, Mr. Gant. Huh? It's not that I didn't present evidence then. It's that I couldn't. What do you mean you couldn't? There are certain procedures involved when presenting evidence. No, Udgy! Don't listen to his lies! He's nothing but a coward. You can't really believe. There's only one issue left to be resolved in this trial. Is this evidence legal or not? Very well, let us settle this once and for all. Earlier, you refused to present evidence. If you can prove your conduct was not in violation of the law, then do so. Why, I have a whole book! This is my proof, Your Honor. Evidence law. What's this? I've done my homework too, Chief. Indeed, my voice cracked there for a second. Indeed, Emma Sky's fingerprints were on this piece of cloth. However, at that point in time, this was merely a piece of cloth, nothing more. What? You see, it's written right here in this book, the second rule of evidence law. Rule number 1. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. I found this piece of evidence myself, inside your safe. It goes without saying, I did not have approval from the police department. Rule number 2. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial. And here is the crux of the matter. You see, at the time, it was impossible for me to prove the relevance between the cloth and the SL9 incident. What? What kind of nonsense is this? You want relevancy? Just take one look at this picture and... Sorry, but can you recall when was that picture presented? That was shown only a few moments ago. No. He's right. At the beginning of today's trial, that piece of cloth was still meaningless. The person who gave it value as evidence was you, Damon Gant. You yourself confessed to a certain truth. Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest? Oh, yes. No! It was then that you approved this cloth as conclusive evidence. Yes, you, the chief of police, personally approved this cloth. The only person who could have cut this from the victim's vest is the one who stood before Prosecutor Marshall in his final moments. In other words, the real murderer. And there's only one person who that could be. You! Damon Gant, the killer was you. I knew I should have gotten rid of him. That good-for-nothing scum. 2 years he's been snooping around the department, trying to get something on me. Crimes are being committed every day, yet he insisted on hounding me. Well, your crime wasn't exactly petty. He wanted to reinvestigate the case. He recruited Angel Starr, then convinced Bruce Goodman. Detective Goodman? Yeah, that's right. The evidence is transferred. I'll lose my only chance to find out the truth. Please, you've got to help me. Goodman turned him down, as he ought to. Still, Jay Marshall didn't know when to quit. He stole Goodman's ID card and tried to take the evidence. What? Oh my, indeed, babe. Goodman came to me that day. He wanted to file a lost item report. I went with him to the evidence room. Then all of a sudden, he decided to speak out. What are you talking about, Goodman? Can you please reopen the investigation, Chief? We can't transfer the evidence out. There are too many questions left unanswered. He opened his evidence locker, and as he was taking the evidence out, he said, "It's not too late. I'm going to hand all this over to Marshall." Well, to be honest, I was a bit taken aback by his words. I had a bad feeling when he came to me, but I never thought he'd bring up SL9. That's when I saw it, that accursed knife. I couldn't just pull it out. Doing so would have led to more blood, making it near impossible to hide your crime. Even so, blood was just pouring out. I didn't know who might stumble in, so I hurried up to wipe it out. I was worrying so much about the floor I didn't realize my fatal mistake. The bloody handprint. On Detective Gumshoe's locker. I used to be known as the crime computer. But everybody has to start somewhere, I guess. I was just too nervous. I had no business doing any of it. Then you put the body in my car. I'm sorry. Couldn't think of any other way to move the body. I broke your trunk, but what's the big deal? You make a lot more than us detectives ever will. But leaving the prosecution's car aside, how could you get Miss Sky involved in all of this? Well, she had just as much to lose if I did. Damn it. Well, she had just as much to lose as I did if the truth came out. So you took the evidence from Detective Goodman's locker. I felt bad for having to do it. I also didn't have the time to pick and choose what to take. So, you left the jar fragments and the glove. Yeah? Looks like I was better off being an investigator of crimes than a committer. They all did their best to get in my way. I've got to hand it to them. They do their jobs well, much to my dismay. Fake evidence doesn't hold up very well upon close examination. You must have known that. Tell me, Worthy, why do you stand in court? Me? You despise criminals. I can feel it. You and me, we're the same. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring them down once you try to go alone. Well, looks like it's time to say goodbye. Oh, Udgy? Well, what? Looks like we'll have to cancel that lunch date. Sorry, old friend. I'm sorry too, Damon Gant. I knew you as you used to be long ago. You were once a fine investigator and an example to others on the force. I'm sorry to learn that you are no longer that person. Those days are gone now, Udgy. Thanks for all the memories, though. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Now you have Wright here. And Worthy. With these two around, you can't go wrong. In fact, I can hear them already. The melodious sounds of a new beginning. There are two things I want you to understand. Yes. First, your sister never hurt anyone. Second, Damon Gant betrayed you from the beginning. You see, Miss Sky? You no longer have any reason to keep silent. You're right. When this trial is over, I'll tell everything. All that I've done these past 2 years. From the time I had Gant help me forge evidence up until today. So, it seems all the questions raised in this trial have been answered. I'm sorry, Miss Sky. I couldn't get you out of all your trouble. My. What high standards you have for a rookie. I can see why Mia thought so highly of you. Who knows? A few years from now, you just might make it to the top. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. Miss Sky. And to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. Nani? You suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. Believe me, I know how much of an ordeal it's been for you. It was nothing. Liar. I was worried the pressure might break you. And yet, you rose above it all and guided Mr. Wright to victory. You've done well, Mr. Edgeworth. Stop it! I only did my job. In light of this case, it seems a good self-examining is in order for all of us. Miss Sky? Yes, Your Honor. You are innocent of murder. However, although the Chief blackmailed you, the fact is you still acted as his accomplice. The trial will be scheduled for these crimes at a later date. Yes, I understand, Your Honor. Is there something amusing about all of this? Why are you smiling? It's been a long time, Your Honor. A long time since I felt free of those heavy chains. Well, this trial has gone on far too long already. You're goddamn right, Your Honor. Regarding the charge of murder, this court finds the defendant, Miss Lana Sky, not guilty. Yay! Fucking finally. That is all. This court is adjourned. Oh, thank God. How long has it's finally over?
It's not over till we see credits.
Emma? Why the long face? I'm sorry your sister didn't get completely off the hook, but at least she wasn't convicted for a murder she didn't commit. No, that's not it. Just now, after the trial ended. I can see why Mia Fey thought so highly of you. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. And to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. You've done well.
Like, what, 5 days, like, in-game?
It's been fucking forever. It was like either 4 or 5. You know, I did my best too, but Lana didn't say a single word to me. Hope I'm not interrupting anything else. Boy.
This motherfucker.
Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later. No, sorry, buddy. Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it? You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Making a detective run all around while on duty. And to top it all off, you call me here. What else do you have to give me, dude? Hey, lighten up, pals. I'm only kidding. Oh, are you here because of my sister again? Nope, not this time. I came today because of you, pal. Me? That's right. Thought you'd like to see someone. Lana? Should you be doing this? She's still under arrest, you know. Well, I won't tell if you won't. Emma, I owe you an apology. It's okay, sis. Don't worry about it. That day 2 years ago was the first time in my life I ever panicked. It was all I could do to keep myself from screaming. All I could think about was keeping you from getting wrapped up in that mess. Sis? I asked Gant to help me cover up the truth. I thought I was doing it for your sake. But now, I realize I was wrong. I changed after that day. I had to. It was the only way I could make it through the past 2 years. I knew how much I was hurting you by distancing myself. But I couldn't bring myself to tell you what I did. I was scared. Scared that you'd look at me with those eyes of yours. I was scared of how you'd react if you knew. But sis, you were only doing it for me. No. Huh? I turned my back on you that day. In hiding what I believed to be the truth, I was deceiving you. Sis. I'm such a fool. It took me all this time to realize it. Emma, I'm so sorry. But sis, you don't have to apologize. I'm happy now. You're happy? Of course. You know, sis, I always knew that one day you'd come back. And now you have. Oh, Emma. Emma. Aw, sisterly hug. No one can change the past. The only thing we can do is strive to make up for our mistakes. Why must we make up for our mistakes, you ask? Because in so doing, we can find the way back to our rightful path. And it is from there that we can move on toward a brighter future. It did. The fucking music from my clock. At least that's what I felt watching the two sisters make up. Mr. Wright, Mr. Gumshoe. Me? Thank you both for all you've done. I'm sure we'll meet again someday. Isn't that right, Edgeworth? Edgeworth? Stop hiding and come over here. I wasn't hiding. I was simply, Where was he hiding? I just came to say, congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth. Right. Well, how'll be going now? Oh, he does care.
He's so shy.
He is.
He's such an edgelord.
He is. Mr. Edgeworth, I hope you don't blame yourself for what happened. We were the ones who acted corruptly, not you. It's too late for me. No matter what anyone may say, I realize today that I can't correct my mistakes.
Mr. Edgeworth?
Not only that, but I don't even trust myself anymore. Chief Gant was right.
You despise criminals. I can feel it.
You and me, we're the same. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring them down once you try and go it alone. I do despise criminals. I plan to dedicate my entire life to fighting them. But in order to fight crime on my own, I need a weapon. It's scary, but I've known that to be true for quite some time now. But Edgeworth, who knows? Given enough time, I might have tried to pull something like Chief Gant did. That thought terrifies me. That's why I can't continue on as a prosecutor.
Edgeworth, don't you understand? Damon Gant and your mentor, Manfred von Karma, were both the best of the best when it came to fighting crime. But they both made the same mistake. You said in order to fight crime on my own, I'd need a weapon. That may be true, but think back to today's trial. You weren't alone. You were working together with Mr. Wright, and because of that partnership, you were able to present evidence that otherwise would have gone undiscovered. Isn't that right, Mr. Wright? Huh? What? Oh, yeah. What is this, a pop quiz? Come on, Mr. Wright. Show him what Lana's talking about. Evidence, huh? Something that neither Edgeworth nor I would have been able to find on our own. What was that evidence? I don't know. I don't remember what it was. Internet, tell me. Tell me, Internet. Ah, the evidence list. That's the picture I drew. Our counterattack began with this. You had one half of the evidence list, and I had the other. Apart, we wouldn't have been able to completely restore Emma's picture. That didn't just happen by chance, Mr. Edgeworth.
I can't be an edgelord anymore.
I can't be an edgelord anymore. I'm too much of a softie. It's time for me to go.
Mr. Edgeworth.
If you'll excuse me, there's still some loose ends that need wrapping up. Take care, Chief Prosecutor.
He's gonna go curb stomp Damon.
Edgeworth! What will you do now? Well, whatever you do, just remember, you can let what happened kill the prosecutor in you, or you can let it help you grow. In the end, it's up to you. I know. It seems I owe you my thanks too, Wright. But what I face now is my problem. Edgeworth, I'll be waiting for you in court. Farewell. So long, soldier. I'd better be going too.
Okay, but I'll be by to visit soon.
It seems we both have a lot to learn and catching up to do. Here, this is a little something for you.
Scientific investigation?
It's the first book I ever bought. Study it well.
Thanks, sis. I will.
Another happy ending. And so, another case came to a close. As for the sisters, I have faith. Faith that their lives have only just begun. Look, everywhere you are. And as for me, I think it's time I started on a new journey of my own. A journey to rediscover myself. Well, don't go trekking off just yet, pal. Huh? What is it, detective? There's just a little matter to be resolved about the chief prosecutor. You see, she isn't supposed to be out of jail like this.
But I thought you said it was okay.
Yeah, well, it may be okay with me, but the folks at the prison are a different story. Huh? Basically, I had to bribe a guard in order to sneak her out for 30 minutes. Believe me, it wasn't cheap either.
Huh? Way to go, detective. I didn't know you had a wild side.
Yeah, well, you see, Mr. Wright here's the one who will be footing the bill.
Huh? Huh?
What? You think I could afford it with my salary? You gotta be kidding me, Val. Huh? Huh? Huh?
What? Thank you, Mr. Wright. You're the best.
Why is it I suddenly feel like I want to scream? Hey, I got an idea. Why don't we all go pay it off together?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Come on, guys. Let's go.
Objection!
Well, that's the game, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this long-ass journey I've taken. Jaden, you son of a bitch. Just keep playing that. Still, I'll manage to find my way back to the field somehow. It's the fucking Full House theme. Well, I do love this franchise. Although, I haven't played the first game, and I do love this game. However, that last episode took way too fucking long.
So long.
Oh my god.
And now we're getting like 80 end credit scenes.
We penalized you, yep, that's what they said. Just goes to show, you can't shake me off that easily. Can I skip the credits?
No, not skipping credits. And you're not allowed to. You gotta watch the whole thing. The whole thing from beginning to end.
Someone kill me.
Who the fuck is that?
My new mission is to guard the main entrance and take care of Billy. Can you believe it? I've been demoted to a security guard. My partner's keeping an eye on the entrance for me today. I'll show them, though. Someday, I'm going to make detective. Yes, sir. Then I can be just like that Dick Gumshoe. Morty, shut up, Morty.
Oh my god. It has more endings than Lord of the Rings.
Right. Right.
Hi there, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Hi.
You gonna kill somebody? Please.
All I need is your credit card number, the expiration month and year, and the 3 digits on the back. Ho
You don't contemplate.
Vibe check. Oh, babe. What is it? Can't you see I'm having me a showdown with the steak lunch partner? Miss Star managed to sneak this into me. Well, cowboy, looks like you did it. You even gave Bambina back her smile. Can you make sure Billy and the gang get their water?
Fucking high noon over here.
Fucking, yeah, high noon ass motherfucker.
Where the fuck that guy is? What's his name? Overwatch.
McCree. Looks like we won't be seeing each other for a while.
Get us?
As a farewell gift, I put a new meat on the menu. The Right Way Lunch. The top layer tastes as bitter as defeat, but the bottom layer is as sweet as victory. Kids seem to dig the turnabout theme. Just make sure not to eat it backwards.
Fucking Ben Judd.
Ben Judd.
Yay.
Oh no. Poor Brandon Gay. I'll never forget what that young defense lawyer said after the trial.
Weed stuff.
Let's see, what was his name again? Mr. Left? Anyway, He said he's been doing, something or other for, how many years? Well, anyway, I've got another trial to get to, so I better be... Huh? Oh no! I forgot my gavel! Sorry, got to go. Oh, Your Honor, never change. Let me skip the credits.
No, we have to sit through the entire credits.
I just want to play my other game.
You're not allowed to.
Ah, nothing soothes the soul like the fresh country air. Still, sometimes I do miss hearing you and your objection. Still, I can't go back until I'm a full-fledged spirit medium. Mystic Maya, afternoon training's about to begin. Coming. Well, see you around, Nick.
I want to give special thanks to whoever invented the skip cutscene button.
Me too.
Abby said you're gonna start your other game tonight?
Maybe.
It's almost 11:30.
I don't care.
Oh my god.
I just want to play it for a little bit. Just get it started, please.
Oh my god.
Mr. Edgeworth?
What the hell is that?
Ah, Mr. Edgeworth, I brought you your tea. What's going on?
She said I am a head after.
Oh, damn. Oh. Tetsuya Mishima. Thanks for coming to see me off. I can't believe I'm going to Europe. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Thank you so much for everything. I'm a little sad. Whatever I want to see, Lana, all I have to do is open this book. Let me guess, there's a picture in the back. There's an envelope. Let's open it. No, it's a picture from their childhood. How touching.
Yay.
Yay, we did it.
Wait, can we move on, please?
Move along. Move along. Move along.
Am I gonna... Capcom!
Capcom, rise from the ashes, trophy earned.
We did it! We did it! Jesus Christ! Oh my god!
Well, everyone, that's Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. Hope you all enjoyed this wacky journey I've been on. Don't forget to like, rate, comment, subscribe, and, you know, all that good ish. Hit that bell notification to know when I play more games. And yeah, I'll see you all on the flip side.